Slope, what is it? Well, without getting into details and only giving you a very, very, very brief and inadequate introduction to what slope is, it's a number that describes how steep that line is. And if you don't understand where that number comes from, that number means nothing to you. So if I said a slope is 2 or a slope is 47, what's it mean to you? You don't know. I'm going to teach you how to get that number, where we get the information from to plug into the formula to get the slope, that number that describes how steep that line is. Sometimes we call it a rate of change. Um, Slope is abbreviated with the letter M, so anytime that you see M on here, if you see M written like a small cursive M, or if it's just a lowercase m in a digital print style, just know that basically you should put into it the word slope. You would just read it as slope. You don't say M equals, just call it slope. That way you'll get in the habit of knowing, hey, if I see M, it's the same as slope. Um, but what we need to use this formula is 2 points, that a line goes through. So if I had a point here and a point here, and I know that the line goes through those 2 points, if I take their x and y values, then I'm able to plug it into this special formula that gets me slope. So see, slope equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And it looks hideous, it looks horrendous, it's not bad. You just have to take a little bit of time. So let's go and take this formula, and let's take 2 points. Here's 2 points, and there's a line that goes through -4, -3, and it connects to 1, 3, and it makes a line. So we took 2 points off that line, and we're going to stuff it into this formula, and we will figure out what the slope is. Now, it's always important to decide which point is 1 and which point is 2. And what I mean is this. Which one do you want to be 1? Do you want it to be this point? And call it 1. Do you want it to be this point? Then that means that this point would be 1 and this point would be 2. You've got to make that decision early on. Now what you're going to see me do in all of my videos is the very first point that I come across, that's 1. The second one, that's 2. You might have a slightly different method, but you need to label which one is 1 and 2, and so now we can do this. This is point 1, -4, -3 is point 1, so this is my x value, so I'm going to call it x1. This is my y value, so I'm going to call it y1. Now I can come over here and I can say, well, this is my x value in the second point, so that's x2. And this is y2 because that's the y value in the second point. I can plug these safely into my equation and I'll get the slope number. So slope equals y2. y2 is 3. See how I've got to plug this y2 in there? So I look down here and I go y2 is positive 3. See the subtraction sign that comes right after it, plug that in. My y1 is -3, so I'll write -3. And it's very important that you don't think of this negative sign as a subtraction sign. If the subtraction sign is built into the equation, the formula, and we just kind of throw in the values for y1, and in this case it's a negative. Now, x2 is on the bottom, so x2 is 1, and we subtract it. See, we're subtracting x1, and x1 is -4. So 3 minus -3 is positive 6, and 1 minus -4 is positive 5. So my slope is 6/5. Now, just so that way you kind of understand what's happening though, we took 2 points, and I'm going to just graph it very generically so you can get the basic idea. Let's see, it was -4, -3, so about right here, and 1, 3 right there. So here's this line, and I took 2 points from it. In this case, it was -4, -3, and here I took 1, positive 3. I took 2 points on this line, I stuffed it into this formula, and I was able to figure out the slope of this line is 6/5, or 6/5. So let's go look at another example so that way I can just kind of drive the point home of what to do. This is the typical question that you would use this type of formula. A line passes through the following points, 2, 0, and 4, 6. What is the slope of this line? You know, the line that passes through these 2 points. So since we don't have any type of equation, this is what we have to do. This is point 1, this is point 2. This then becomes x1, this becomes y1. And then that frees us up to say that this one is x2 and this is y2. And you need to actually memorize this formula, and it's not too bad. Uh, Slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We take these values and we plug them in. Y2 is 6, y1 is 0. Make sure you put the minus sign in there. So minus 0 over x2, 4. Put your minus sign in. x1 is 2. And now we're free to subtract. 6 minus 0 is 6. 4 minus 2 is 2. You can simplify it, and that would be 3 over 1 or 3. So my slope is 3. Make sure you never turn it into a mixed number. Okay, don't ever try to turn it into a mixed number. Keep it as a whole number or as a fraction. An improper fraction is just as valid. It's okay. So just remember, no mixed numbers for the slope. Okay. Now, um, if you're wanting to look for the best tips, best practices, if you're trying to do this in your head early on, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. I would literally write a 1 and a 2 over the points, and then I would tag each part of this as, this is point 1, so it's X, and this is point 1, so put the 1 for the subscript, and the 1 for the subscript here. And this was 2, so 2 for the subscript right there. And then that helps you be able to put it into this equation. Um, if you have the equation written out on your notes and it's off to the side, maybe you don't need to write this part down here. But it just depends on your ability to plug it in from looking at a different paper and putting it onto your paper without making a mistake. Because if you make one mistake, for instance, if we had 2 minus 4, we flipped up our x's, 2 minus 4. Uh-oh, that's 6 over negative 2. Well, then you've got a negative 3 slope, and that's wrong. And the other issue is a lot of times I'll see that people will put your x2 minus x1 on top of the formula. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. The y's have to be on top. Okay, the y's have to be on top. So make sure that you've labeled each part of your points correctly, plug it in here correctly, and then actually do the subtraction correctly, and then you won't have a problem. You might have a lot of issues early on, but practice, 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 and slowly but surely you'll see that your skill improves to where you're not making a mistake very often.